Okay, nobody remembers?
Something about positive and negative energies.
Positive and negative energy.
Ida, Nadi, and Nehemiah.
You have an extra? I didn't think.
The same one from last week?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Last week, another one.
So we went over the original calibration of the chakras last week, right? I don't remember.
What is that exactly?
That's,
On the heart was the base.
huh?
On the heart was the original base.
No. How the soul uses the energies and the prana and pressurizes it in order to bring about the necessary karmic pressures. We went over that, right? Or did we just jump around?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So no questions from last week, either? Just down there into
Oh, what are you talking?
it.
What are you talking about, pastor?
What?
The pastor?
Oh, it's the same one to get to. Robin, 5344. You got one? Now, the chakra system utilizes the energies coming from the sun, coming through the sun, really. And the energies coming from the sun, we have the sun. We have the sun, right? Releases sound, right? And that sound is released as havoc rays, right? And how many havoc rays? 360. Now these havoc rays, they create what is termed a mode of what? The one? Motion. Right? For what? For the what? For the primes. Now, if you look at this is saying the same thing that scientists are saying. In fact, I think scientists actually stole this. Because what the ancient people say, they say that the AUM is repeated by the solar logos, which is the sun. Because we're told that that this AUM is a creative word that was spoken at creation, right? They say God spoke the word, and creation came about. Well, the sun speaks the word, and we're told that every 32 minutes, the sun repeat that word, the AUM. And this is the creative sound that the adepts and masters hear in samadhi. When they reach the highest level of meditation and go into samadhi, and they hear the creative word being spoken by the sun. Right? And what it does, it connects them to this tremendous flow of power. And they gain all type of knowledge and understanding from it.
Can we connect it to all, the flow of all 360 times degrees?
Yeah. They get connected to this flow of energy. Now, these 360 rays is the thing that help, like I said, mold prime. Now, for a better term, we can call it Shanti. Right? Because what happens is it creates the worlds, it allows us to create the worlds in which we exist in. Okay? So when you get to the chakra system, what happens is these type of rays, right? They distribute themselves within the chakra system. All right? You have 56 in the base chakra, right? 62, 52 in the solar plexus. In the heart, you have 54. And 72, 64 in the Christ center. All right? Now, they distribute themselves, all of this should equal 360 average grades. Now, with that, you have a conversion point of like this with these rays. And this is 136. This is 106. And this is 118. And these rays, these are the rays that reflect from the moon back to the earth. These are the rays that come directly from the sun. And they're only conditioned by the atmosphere of the earth. And these are the rays that are absorbed in the earth and given to us in our bodies. So, but these rays are the thing that creates our environment. This is the ray, these type of rays here are the rays that create the mental world. This is the rays of vitality. And these are the growth rays that help create the bodies. Or let's say, growth solids. Now, without these rays, you cannot have anything. Nothing exists. So it is the function of the chakras is to calibrate these rays and help produce the mental and vital and physical world. Okay? So that's what, that's one of the main things of the chakras. That's why when I tell you all that this is the thing that most people miss about the chakra system, that this is what it's about. And if we think about it, everything that we think about, right? Everything that we think about, let's say everything that we want to do, we think about it first, right? We think about it first. It starts on the mental plane. And then, what do we do with it? Huh?
Write it down.
So we have to do what with it? We have to spend what with it? Energy, right? Resources. And that energy is vital, right? Is vital, right? Because why? We burn up energy trying to manifest this mental, this mental ideal or vision, and then we eventually do what? We bring it to the gross plane of existence, right? We bring it into existence, we bring it into the gross plane of existence first. Now, the first level of the gross plane of existence might simply be a writer, right, on a piece of paper. We moved it from our mental, from the mental world down to the physical world through letters and sound, right? And from there, we do what with it? We begin to try to design it. It goes from a brief write-up, maybe to an organizational chart, right? Then we start doing diagrams and trying to lay it out and figure out how we want to bring it to the world. And eventually we do what? We begin to go and look for physical material in order to manifest it, right? So this is what the ancient people was telling us. This is what happens with everything we do. And that's what the chakra system does. We begin to manifest things on the mental plane. Then we put energy behind it, then we bring it to the physical plane. Now, you gotta understand, now this is where it becomes complicated. The mental plane is also what? Psychic. Well, it's psychic too, but it's also what? Physical. Right? Mm-hmm. Because everything that's manifested in creation is what? It's physical, right? And everything that manifests in creation is also mental. right? So now, with the Tavic rays, right? With the Tavic rays, we have, and prana, we have something called the what? The Buddhas, right? What are they? They are the elements, right? The cosmic elements, right? Now, so these cosmic elements are the subtle, they are the subtle physical world. They help make up the subtle physical world. And the Tavic rays utilize them to do what? To help bring about manifestation. Okay? So you have, the first one is what? Anyone? Gotcha. Right? Body, which is a better terminology is what? Space. Because throughout the whole universe, you have space. Now, of course, the scientists call it what? Anyone know?
Dark
matter, right? Or dark energy, right? So, and then we have from a casa, we have what? And value is what? Air, right? Or gas, or gases, or whatever, right? Now, from then we have what? Agni. Or Titans, right? And that is fire. Also light. All right? And what we have next? Apasa, right? This is water or liquid. And then we have what? Rickies. Know how to spell it? And this is earth or gross, right? Solids. Now, you can imagine you have this, within this Tavic matter, right? Or Tavic rays, right? Because this is also, the Tavic rays make up what is called Tavic matter. Anybody know what the Tavic matter is considered? Solar. Remember this, huh? All right. Is that good? All right. Solar positive. Now, scientists tell us that the whole universe, they realized this some time ago. I mean, the whole solar system is wrapped up in this solar plasma, right? But of course, thousands and thousands of years ago, the ancient people said that all the planets in the solar system will revolve or is trapped in the Tavic matter of the sun, right? Now, of course, the scientists using their telescopes and everything, they talk about the nebula and all of this and how there's some type of sun in the middle of it or some type of activity like the sun, and then all these planets come from it. But the ancient people said, no, you have this Tavic matter produced by the sun, and then the sun used this sound, which is modes of motion, acting on the prana, the Mahabhutas, and mind substance within the Shakti power, and there's like three major principles of attack power to shape and mold all matter or all life forms within its reach. Okay, so that's what the attack rate is all about. It creates the world in which we existed. Okay, now each one, of course, we call each one of these, we call the base of the spine, we call it a realm of existence, right? We call it the sex center. They also are planes of, the realms of existence are levels of consciousness, right? But there are major levels of consciousness. This is the solar plexus, the heart chakra, this is the throat, and thighs, right? Now, the thing about it, each one of these type of grades is a realm of existence of its own, the whole world. Okay? Now, so on the first conversion level, or sometimes this is called also called a branching eye. Okay? There's 118 worlds that you must conquer in order to move past these realms of existence. Now, these worlds could be subtle, they could be on the astral plane and the physical plane. Right here on the physical plane, we have multiple worlds, right here. But on the astral planes, you have multiple worlds too. See? So now what they have told us is that on this realm, there's 56 worlds that you must gain experience from and rise above.
When you say worlds,
Worlds, levels of consciousness, which could be here on the physical plane or the astral plane. Okay? And when you get to the sex center, there's another 62 worlds. All right? Now, will everybody understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, so basically, like, you may have the ability to astral project the base and physical realm, but you might not be projecting to the sex realm. You might be just operating more in the astral realm than the physical realm, right?
Yeah, or in another sense, let's say here on this plane of existence, we look at this as a physical plane, like I said, but you have a level of consciousness of what? Of the animal kingdom, of the plant kingdom. Okay? You have a level of existence of the reptile, the ocean, yeah, the fish. There's a level of consciousness there. So all those are realms too. See, those are realms of existence right here on the physical plane. But it's a different level of consciousness because why? The perspective of consciousness for them is different for us.
You know, help us study each one of those realms, we have the ability to.
Yeah, you have to, well, a lot of those realms will pass by, but because of our level of advancement, or, you know, where we are, we don't appreciate it. Right? We got here, we're moving forward, but we have allowed ourselves to become, in a sense, impure in our thoughts and actions. So we necessarily we don't appreciate them. You know? So that's something that we need to, that's something that we actually need to try to appreciate. You know, that's why we go out there and we kill hundreds of thousands, millions of fish a year, you know, to do what? To sustain ourselves with no real way of actually, really to care how they sustain themselves and the necessary experience they need to gain in order to move beyond that realm of consciousness. See, the same thing with animals. We line up chicken and cows and we just kill them by the millions every morning. You know, we look to count how many we want to have to sell to make a profit, not thinking that these animals have to go through an experience cycle in order to move on, so that they can reach the plateau that they're trying to reach, which is the Mahara Chakra, which is their crown chakra, so that they can begin to experience self-consciousness. But we have contaminated these realms of existence so that we're not even aware of that anymore. So we go out, we eat our meat, we do all our terrible things that we do, at least you do, because I don't eat meat. but we, you know, we contribute to this in some form or fashion, you know, and that's something that we need to rise above. Okay, so when we look at the 118 worlds, that's the 118 worlds we're talking about. Okay, some of them are physical, and some of them are astral. Right? So it's the same thing when you get to this level. You have 106 worlds that you must conquer before you move up to the depth ship, to the higher depth ship. And master ship, you have 136 worlds you must, control. So that's essentially that's what the Tavic rays. I did a write-up a long time ago. I look and see if I can pull it up. It talks more about it. It's actually when you study the Tavic rays, that gives you the step-by-step on the Sanskrit level of the constitution of man, because it talks how the consciousness moves from a bodiless type consciousness to an embodied consciousness, and it all has to do with the type of rays. Okay, because at one level, the soul, like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, the soul is not even aware of anything like the knowledge of experience, because it's connected to the spirit. So because it's connected to the spirit, it has information on everything. So it doesn't need any type of knowledge of experience. So then, in order for the soul to, because the spirit wanted this level of evolution, it had to take on a body. It had to take on a body of an involved body that can experience learning. So what did it do? It took only a part of itself and involved itself in order to bring about this thirst for knowledge and experience. And in the Tavic world, when you study the Tavic world, that's what that's what you learn. You learn about the evolution of man. You study the Tavic rays.
Learn the thought process when you create a thought in your head. It doesn't necessarily come from the Christ per se. The thought might not be that pure.
No. I mean, the thought is when you have a thought, right? Remember, all of these are mental realms. But when you have a thought, right, it comes from a portion of the will. And the will is represented as what? Soul. Right? In the manifested world. So it's generated from will or the pressure to do what? To move towards conformity. You know, everything we do is a pressure towards conformity. Conforming to what? To the divine laws of karma. Even, unfortunately, even those people who may go out and do terrible things, is something, the law, the pressure, the karmic law It's pressuring them towards an end to bring about what? A greater good. So that's what, that's what happens. So that thought coming to manifestation, just like anything, in order for something to be manifested, if you take anything and begin to try to shape it and mold it, it's going to attract all of the things that need to do what? To survive. Right? The baby cries out because what? It needs food. Right? And the mother is instinctively connected to that child and know what to do for that child. Because why? Because it's crying out for food. Crying out for drink, for milk, some type of food, something, some type of substance. And that's with any and everything. Any and everything. So when you have a mental thought, that mental thought manifests itself on one of these chakras, right? The chakra that it's attracted to, that it knows that has the necessary material in order to bring it out into the world. So it won't manifest here if it's not akin to that. It's going to manifest here, if that's where the relationship is. It's just like any type of learning. You learn the best through what? Things that you can associate with. You cannot bring about new learning without having something that you can associate with. So you have to you have to begin to try to learn as much as you can so that you can have a lot to associate with. So when you bring about the thought, that thought is manifested, always manifests through the chakras. And it goes out into the auric body. And then it finds the right pattern in order to release it to the world. Okay? Does everybody kind of understand this? Any questions on it?
Can the 118 worlds can they also be associated with lives?
No. It is the present. We're talking about the present. We're not talking about, we're talking about the present. But you understand that 118 worlds, you can have like 36 worlds right here on the physical plane. You understand that, right?
All the different realms of existence are
With
operating.
different levels of consciousness. In other words, here on this physical plane, we have the mineral kingdom, right? Which is a life form. Then we have the plant kingdom, in simple terminology, right? Then we have the animal kingdom. And then inside the animal kingdom, you may have several different levels, right? And then we have the human kingdom. Huh? Yeah, I said the mineral, the mineral, the plant, the animal, and then the human. And you also have the demon kingdom that intertwine in all of those realms as well. That is associated with all of those realms. And in fact, for every ray here, right, you have so if you have 118 rays here, you also have 118 divas that reside over those realms. Right? And then those realms, and then these divas, they have a host of other divas working with it.
So within the human realm of consciousness, there are 118 devas.
Yeah. In all these realms, for every realm you have a major diva that's over those realms.
Can these, for example, the 56 or 118 be subdivided into more rooms?
Yeah, of course.
Realistically speaking, there's many.
Yeah, of course. But we're talking about the major realms, and we're talking about the major configuration of energy used for those realms. Okay? Because let's say that, most of the metaphysical, especially in the theosophical world, they move away from this. and they talk about, oh, you have all of these are rims, these are the major rims. But then they tell you that each one of these have 7 sub-rims. And each 7 sub-rims have another 7 sub-rims. And then those sub-rims may have another 7 sub-rims. But they don't go into the explanation. In the ancient teachings, it clearly tells you there's 160 type of rays, and those type of rays are the major energy configurations that make up all the rims. Okay? So you understand it? You don't, just say you don't.
No, I do. I just probably have to study it myself to understand it better.
But you have a ray that's coming from the sun, and that ray represents a whole world of existence, a level of consciousness that you can tap into and look at things from that level. You know, whether you are a mineral, a plant life, an animal, or a human, you see it from that level. Okay?
Because we are humans now, we've already gone through the mineral realm, or consciousness and plant consciousness.
But yet you went through it, and yet you are it still too. You understand? Because there's minerals that's running through your body, right? And help make up your physical body. There's minerals that's running through your astral body that makes up your astral body. See, so you're still part of that kingdom. Yeah, because you had to go through those kingdoms and master that in order to be able to configure it to a human body that lives on multiple planes of existence. You understand?
Because we digest plants too.
It's not only because you are that.
Yeah.
You sustain it. I mean, your body is part mineral. Yeah, it's part plant. And it's part animal too. Because you have the animal desire, the animal thirst in you as well. So you go through, in fact, the mystics used to say, if you examine an embryo to a fetus, what will you see? You see what? The states of evolution, right? So because why? Because you seem to go through that in the womb of your mother, you know, producing and configuring all those energies into that in order to get where you need to be, back to the human kingdom, in order to shape that human body. So of course we're still connected. The difference is we shut ourselves off of it and we don't really express the true appreciation, you know, of those lower kingdoms. So because why? Because most of our life force is what? Locked up, you know, in the Kundalini. So we have to learn to unravel it and show the true appreciation. Okay?
Diane, you said a little bit that the pretty higher above the animal kingdom, the animal kingdom, actually don't want to go over and stuff.
We do to an extent, but we choose to, because of our basic level of self-consciousness, we choose to only use what associates to us. In fact, most mankind are more sociopathic, you know, in a sense, when you look at it. Because like I was telling you before you walk in, the mineral kingdom lives through us. Our body is made up of many, many minerals. All right? So, and then of course, the plant kingdom lives through us too. The fact that we sustain ourselves on what? On the oxygen that's generated by what? By the plant life. Right? We breathe out carbon dioxide, and the plants do what? Produce oxygen so that we can sustain our life. So we are a part of the plant kingdom. But do we truly appreciate it? No, we don't. We take it for granted. It's only recently, back in, I think in the 60s or 70s, where they said, okay, for every plant that or tree that we cut down, we're gonna plant 5. And now they say, no, we need to plant 25. because they realize, they begin to realize that how critical it is. You know, Florida is a tropical area. But we have a deficiency of what? Of plants. You know, and this, you know, and this is probably the easiest place for plant life to grow. But when you drive down the street, you don't see any plants. Now, I kind of grew up down here, and I remember it was plant life everywhere. It was forests, and it was, I mean, we used to go in the woods and play all day long. And it didn't have to come out because why? There was plenty to eat. But now it'll be hard to find a place like that. So it's a problem. We don't appreciate those things. So that's, you know, we're kind of centered in our own needs, and we don't look out for everyone else. And that's why we have to develop our consciousness to engulf and be a real service to the world. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
On that part, when you talk about when you have a thought, it comes in the mental plane, then to bring it to the gross plane of existence, we go through the energy, the vital energy. Can you explain that part, the energy part?
In other words, if I wanted to build a house,
Yeah.
right, and I had this picture in my mind for a house, right? In fact, my wife, she wants me to build a house for her, right? So, and she wanted this house, she wanted the back of the house to be all glass, all panorama and everything. So what would I do? I would take the energy, I would take the mental thought and bring it to a level where I begin to design it on a piece of paper and test out all the structural engineer of it. You know, how I need the walls to be, how I need the roof system to be, you know, how can I limit the photon rays coming. I have to do all type of energy calculations to make the house just right. If it's going to be next to the ocean, I have to go and figure out the foundation and what type of footer system to put in it so the house don't sink over a number of years. So that's the energy. It's mental and vital energy being placed on it.
But the figuring out part is the vital energy.
It's the vital energy. Actually putting it to pen and paper. Yes, it's set in motion. It's going through the same process of the 3 sounds. Remember the four states of sound? It's going through the same process. All of this is related. You know, even the tabic waves go through the same process. So its first movement is that parallel level, right? Which is first movement, and then you move it into a vital state of energy where everything begins to come together, emotion begins to move in an orderly way. And then by the time you get it to the heart chakra, you bring meaning to it, right? And the meaning is you close it with some type of etheric substance. And then by the time you get it to the throat level, you manifesting it through sound, and then eventually from there you can manifest it from hands and feet. Okay, you can actually move, because once you can talk about it, you can bring it into manifestation. Okay, you can actually take your hands. In fact, the energy used to move the hands and the feet comes from the throat. In fact, the energy to use head, hand, and feet in coordination comes from the throat. It's called the Udana energy, and it travels through the extremities, the head and the extremities. So once you can bring something to the level where you can talk about it, then you can manifest it. Okay, and that's what we did. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All of this stuff is synchronized.
Mm-hmm.
I know people give it in a way where it's convoluted, but all of it makes sense. All of it makes sense. okay? And I think the target rate is one of the hardest things for people to understand, but it's really not. It really isn't. It's the energy that makes up our whole existence. You know, our whole existence. All right? And the divas is a whole other subject. You know, but the divas control the energy level, the mineral level, they control the plant kingdom, and the animal kingdom, and even the human kingdom. Okay? And it sucks in a sense, in order for your blood to rush through your body, it must follow an exact law. Now, of course, your mental makeup put pressure on that law, but what's pushing the energy through it? It's the divas. The divas have control over the blood in your body. They control over the tissue in your body. They have control of the mental substance in your body. It's a whole diva kingdom. And these are life forms just like us, right? But they chose not to have free will. They chose to live by the laws of God. So they live between the realms, in a sense. And they live on the vibrational. They live on the vibrational level of existence. The divas do. Yeah. Some people call them angels, but that's not a correct terminology.
What happens when a person dies? Like, if they control that, right? So when a person dies, what happens? What exactly? Do they need it?
Well, let me say this. They control the laws in which the blood travels. You actually control, you the soul controls the blood, but they control the laws that blood can travel. In other words, the direction and movement. All right? But you exert the pressure or give them the energy to do that control.
Through your thoughts and actions.
Through your thoughts and actions. Yeah. When you die, that means you have reached the limit that's been given to you to work within that vehicle that you built for yourself. In other words, you have exhausted all the vital energy out of that physical material, that mental and physical material that you took on for this life. And you move on with your ordered body and go to another life. And you live a life on one of the astral or etheric planes for a time, and then you take on another physical body when the time is right. You know, and you dictate that time. No one else. You do. So, everybody understand? Did I answer your question? Everybody understand so far?
Because the devas operate, because the devas operate without free will, they're helping us. Are they operating also within the sex and base chakra?
Yeah, and all the time.
And all the chakra?
Yeah. Listen, everywhere you see, in other words, I can tell you this is 56 divas. This is 62 divas. This is 52 divas. You know, I can tell you all of that. All right? And because that's how they operate. In fact, for each being within the chakra represents a diva. Okay? It represents a diva. And in fact, that's how you call on the diva. By repeating that particular, that seed. Okay? That's how you call on the diva. Because the diva and the mantra is one. Okay, it's one energy. See, and the formation of that energy, the diva, is one because it's just like the water that you drink. The water in the diva is one in a sense. It's hard for you to you have to almost see it to understand it, you know. And in order to see it and understand it, you have to get rid of fear.
You say that the diva like blends itself with that energy, with that.
Yeah, it is that energy.
So it can manipulate its role.
Because the vibration that's holding that together is the diva itself. And sometimes that's why when people like, you know, like when they see a diva, especially in Ireland, where they have, you know, claim a lot of them claim to have taken pictures of these divas. You know, but I say usually like the plant diva, they either green or brown, you know, and they take on the shape or maybe their skin or whatever, and they look leafy or like bark or something. And when you see them, you look at them and say, oh my God. And at times they may take on arms or legs in order to do a particular energy manipulation. You know, I think the first time I ever seen, I was just a little boy. I had to be maybe like 3 years old, either 2 or 3 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I walked into the kitchen, and my parents had just brought grocery. So I heard a bunch of stuff in the kitchen going on. I said, what is this? So I walked in the kitchen to peep at the table, and my older siblings, because I was like the baby boy, they left all of the groceries on the table. And there the divas were, flying over the food and going into the bags, the grocery bags, these brown paper bags, and coming in and out. And to me, of course, a child, it looked like a bunch of demons, you know. So it scared me. So I ran back into the bedroom, jumped in the bed, and it got between the wall and my brother and covered my head up. And was trying to wake him up to let him know that the divas, that these things was out there in the kitchen. Of course, he didn't wake up. But later on I learned, because I would see him later on a greater level of consciousness, that they were divas. And that they always got happy when food came to the house. And they would do this dance around the food. And they took on the color of the brown paper bags. So it's the same thing with water, the same thing with what?
Fire.
With fire. You know, they take on those type of colors and you can see them. So that's the divas. What? They looked at like, to me, you know what? If there was a cartoon, what's it called? You probably don't remember. Gummy. Remember that Gummy cartoon? Remember Gummy? They had bodies like the Gummy. But they were brown. And they had round heads.
I don't know what, like, this came, it never happened before, but like, when I took it, 2 shapes were there, one was like, it was white and brown. It didn't look normal, it was good.
I mean, so the divas take on they take on the color and the shape of the things that they associate, that they manipulate the energy for. You know, so it's you know, it's real. It's hard to explain because I could do like 5 classes on the Diva Kingdom. It's hard to explain, but it's something to know. Okay? So everybody understands that the Mahavudras or the cosmic elements is also something that the Catholic rays use in order to in order to shape and mold manifestation. Okay? In order to shape and mold manifestation. So, any other questions on this?
It's kind of related, but so it's bad to kill animals and eat meat and all that, but what makes it better to eat the plants?
Because the plants give fruit. And when you eat the fruit of a plant, you're not killing the plant.
Okay.
And then, you're obligated to do what for the plant? The plant is offsprings.
Okay.
So in other words, there's an energy exchange. And then also the plant gives you oxygen as well. So you already have this related thing. Now we're obligated also to help animal life too. So, but it's not, and that's a personal choice that you have to take on your own to be a vegetarian or not a vegetarian.
Notes for the class to give tumors.
Oh, you did one?
What was the clipboard?
It's the one from last week.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So did I answer your question? So the plant life is, in fact, in all the Bibles, from whether it's the Christian Bible, or the Torah, or the Quran, or even the Vedas, or the Buddhist Bible, they say the same thing. They say that vegetarianism is the way to go. I know that a lot of the, as things grow, people, they try to supplement this, that, and that, but, there's three types of vegetarians. There's a vegetarian that eat only vegetables, right? And then there's a vegetarian that eat vegetables and dairy, right? And then there's a vegetarian that eat vegetables, dairy, and poultry. And those are the three types of vegetarians. It's your choice of what you want to be, but it's best to abstain from meat. And there's a lot of negativity about meat too, especially if you don't have control over your mental state. Because when you eat a meat, you take on what?
Fear and pain.
Yeah. Especially the way they kill the animals.
They know when they're going to be slaughtered.
Yes, they know.
And so they release all that adrenaline, and that's what you're eating, basically their fear.
Yeah, so it's not really good to do. Yeah.
Do you have any pets? And would you, some people like when you hold these vegetarians for their pets.
No.
You can't do that, right?
I wouldn't do
Yeah,
it.
we have vegetarian dogs.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that to the dog. I mean, it's best to let them gain the necessary experience they need to gain so that they can move out of that state. They're in that state for a reason. And really that humbles you too. People like to pick on other people's lifestyles, right? And that's one of the stupidest things to do. It's really ignorance. Because that person have reached there for a reason. They need that type of experience in order to move on. So, and a lot of times people who do that, they gonna end up going through what that person went through because they picked on it. They may retrogress and they may place themselves back. Everyone is where they are for a reason. And they will learn and gain the necessary experience they need in that lifestyle in order to move on. And I'm talking about human, animal, and plant life.
None of them have vegetarian food for all the time.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. Now if a dog wants to be a vegetarian and that's that dog's choice, then do it for it. But I wouldn't try to take that dog out of his element You know, it's worse. It's bad enough that you domesticize the dog anyway. So, you know. But no, I would feed the dog the meat. Especially if I don't know enough nutrition, I don't have enough nutritional, knowledge about the makeup of those dogs. But you can hurt that animal. Because the animal might need a certain mineral or vitamin coming from the meat to sustain it, because it's been sustained on that for centuries. So by you taking it out of their diet, you may bring them to a quick death, so that they have to repeat the dog life maybe 10 more times, and that's on you for doing that. So that's crazy to do. I know people like to do stuff like that, but I just think it's not good. This is a vast subject, so it takes a couple of classes to really go through it.
So when we get an idea and want to bring it to the physical, it follows the laws of the 4 aspects of sound that are on this right here.
Yeah.
So like you get the inspiration from the soul, in a sense. That goes down to the base and it's released in the fire sound, right? And then it works
Or
on
it may go to the sex, or even the solar plexus. It depends on the nature of that thought. It depends on the nature of that thought.
And when it comes into gross, I mean, that's, in a sense, it's coming out of the fire sound.
It's coming from the throat. I mean, you can speak about something and you can manifest that.
But the inspiration, I guess the thing behind it is always coming from the sound.
You know who's great producers, and a lot of people think that they're not, it sounds stupid too, politicians. What do? They will talk something into the ground. But at the end of the day, what happens to it? It manifests itself. Which is a good thing that's happening now around this country, is that they're allowing gay marriage, right? That's a good thing. Because why? The politicians kept it on their tongue. And making people know that it's wrong to discriminate against people. Like that. I mean, that's
discriminating.
Huh?
Discriminating.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a good thing, right? It's really a good thing. So, but they did that through what? Through their tongue, through voicing it. Because now that it's heard everywhere, you got all these states adopting the law. So they are another good, which is crazy, 2 actors. They play these roles, and really it raise your consciousness to a certain level. Like anybody seen Philadelphia, right? It brings me to tears every time. I can't watch it. Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, it do something to you, because they really brought the whole, AIDS and HIV to the level of consciousness to the world, and through that little simple movie. But when people can talk about it, it can be manifested. Because after that movie, it was on the lips of everyone, and a lot of money went towards the program. So that's just following along. And these politicians, they became adepts at doing that, although it might be in a corrupt way in most cases.
So that's why art can be so powerful.
That's right. And why art can be so powerful. That's right. So it's not. You don't put down those things. And art is a science. All these things is a science. So you don't restrain people from being artistic or musicians, or even though you may say, well, this is a waste of time. in your mind, but it's not. Because it's something for everyone. Everyone has, a contribution to the world. And usually it's those so-called abstract things that actually move the world in one direction. So an artist that, politicians, unfortunately, and music. Music is that too. So yeah, when you can speak about it, it can be manifested. When it gets to that level, because something that can't be spoken about on a certain level, it never rises to the top. Because why? It haven't been formulated and given substance in the heart chakra to be sustained. So when you can bring it to the voice level, then it's very coherent. It's a pure source of information that can be passed from person to person. And that's what the 4 states of sound is talking about. Okay?
Because when you appreciate something, you appreciate an art form or whatever, you appreciate something in existence. So at that level, you're operating them, like you just said, the part, going down sound.
Yeah, well, you bring meaning and substance to it, yeah.
You're preserving it through sound, that I appreciate.
Yeah. And later, at one point, you're going to be able to voice it. You're going to be able to bring it to the throat chakra and voice it. Because once you can appreciate it, and once you can give it substance through thought and voice, then you can manifest it.
So usually ideas that don't reach that level, rather than the ideas kind of discard, and then in the future you realize, oh, that was the idea.
Or it's missing something. Even if you thought you manifested it, just like gadgets, they manifest these, they bring out these softwares and these computers and these toys and stuff, and it just don't go anywhere. But 10 years later, someone bring it back and they add one more thing to it, and all of a sudden everyone loves it. So this is just like that. Because the second person found the substance, they appreciated it, and they found what was missing from it. It's just like how the cars get better and better, or the planes or whatever. That's why the next generation bring it to a different level of operation. Okay? I think we'll save the rest of next week. We'll go into the base of the spine next week. The base chakra. There's no question we can talk about.
Says that if you read one chapter from it every day, and you practice, continuously, then you'll be liberated from this time.
Ooh, from what?
Like say that, I was just reading it today, and say that, so is it true?
If you read one page, what?
No. It says that if you read, like, there are 8 chapters in it, right? So, it says that if you practice any of the chapters, like, on a consistent basis, you will be liberated from this body. And there have been, like, stories also in the dream. How a bad person, he became a buffalo in another life, and how while he was dying, Vaishya, I don't know if Vaishya maybe means prostitute or something. She was purified because her parent used to chant something every day, and it made her pure. So she gave, like, everyone was giving a part of themselves to the lines of the room. So she just gave that, like, it's a diction, I don't know what to say.
Well, what it is, you know, remember most of those things are parables. But it is true that you should, because you're taught, to read from the Holy Word every day. Because what it does, it helps to mold and shape your mental bodies. And if something starts on a mental level, it must reach what? The physical level at one point. And your thoughts and actions and movements. So that's good, and it will cleanse your aura, and it will move you towards, you know, a higher level of consciousness, and eventually, you know, you can move out of the realm of samsara, which is the will of rebirth. But that's going to take many, many lifetimes. But, like I said, you must begin. A journey of 1,000 miles start with one single step. You know, you always got to think about that. And then also, people who have, if they had some type of addiction or whatever, if they go through the 8 limbs of yoga and they practice mantra is a good source to purify them. They can purify their bodies from that addiction. Whether that addiction is drink, eat, or prostitution, or thievery, or even murder. They can cleanse their auric body and mental bodies of those type of things where they bring those addictions or desires under control. Okay, and that's something that you can do. So I mean, but the books make it sound much more, flowery and uplifting. But really, I mean, we have to be practical, and you're not going to do it in one lifetime. It's just not going to happen. But you can get over addictions in a matter of months or maybe a year or whatever. Through mantra, through pranayama, if you practice on a daily basis, you can believe yourself. I had one of my students many years ago, he was an alcoholic, and through simple pranayama, prayer, and mantra, which I gave him, and I was treating him for that, he got over that and never messed with alcohol in that type of manner again. So it works. It works. And you can do it in a matter of months. It doesn't take years to do it. You can do it in a matter of months. I don't know. I think he was partial. I think he was partial vegetarian according to the scenic teachings. I think he was. If you go back to, everybody knows the scenic teachings, right?
Jesus. Jewish.
That John the Baptist, remember John the Baptist, who was a cousin of Jesus, and he baptized Jesus, and Jesus went to him to be baptized, to be as his minister or whatever. Well, John the Baptist was a vegetarian, and it clearly states that in the Bible that he was a vegetarian. That he lived in the wilderness and he ate vegetables. He didn't eat any type of meat. Okay. Okay, but you can't believe that's there again. We get into artistic. You can't believe that. I mean, they also paint him as a white man too. I mean, you can't, and you just didn't have no white people in that part of the world. So you can't believe that.
It's like in India, I went to this class, and then teachers were, they were doing the same thing that vegetarians in school. So some students were like, oh, Jesus Christ ate meat. And I was trying to contradict them.
No, I believe he was a part of the, there's a book, I think we have it on the website, if you want to read it.
Mystic Christianity.
Yeah, the Mystic Christianity book.
A Yogi Ramachandra.
And William Walker Atkinson. And in that book, they trace the lineage of Jesus, and they talk about, I don't agree with everything in the book, but they give you the inner teachings of his, of his, and how this thing was playing out for hundreds of years. I mean, for centuries, because when you go back to the Old Testament, they predict the coming of Jesus in the Old Testament, probably like 300-400 years before he was born. They predict the coming of him. And then they even chose the line in which he was going to come through. So in that particular family that he came through, they prepared for his coming, where where a woman would stay a virgin for so long, and they would have they created a purity line. But it's a lot to it. It's too much to go into right now, but it's a lot to it. All right. Any other questions? Okay, well then let's go ahead and close